unveiling the silent secrets of the Titanic. The Titanic rests quietly at the bottom of the Atlantic, yet its voice echoes through fragments of film, forgotten records, and preserved messages. What untold stories do these lost photos reveal from those final, fateful hours? Let's uncover the hidden pieces of this tragedy, moments that history has long kept in the shadows, waiting to be remembered. Father Brown's lens, capturing life aboard the Titanic. Through the lens of Father Francis Brown, the Titanic's story comes alive, snapshots of a world frozen in time. Of the 2,224 passengers who boarded the Titanic, only one man preserved its soul on film before disaster struck. On April 10, 1912, as the Grand RMS Titanic prepared to sail from Southampton, England, a young Irish Jesuit priest unknowingly became the chronicler of maritime history. Father Francis Brown, just 31 years old, stepped aboard with his camera, a gift from his uncle, the Bishop of Cloyne. The Titanic, at 883 feet long and weighing 46,328 tons, was a marvel of engineering and opulence, a floating palace heralded as unsinkable, symbolizing human achievement. Between April 10 and 11, Father Brown captured life aboard with meticulous care. His photographs revealed the ship's grandeur and humanity, trunks and mailbags being loaded at port, the bustling promenade deck as it passed the Portuguese RMS Tagus, and tender moments like a child survivor, Douglas Spedden, playing on deck. His lens chronicled moments of commerce, like a woman selling Irish lace, and the ship's remarkable amenities, preserving a legacy that tragedy could not erase. Father Brown's legacy, a glimpse into Titanic's forgotten world. The Titanic was a masterpiece of elegance and innovation, and Father Francis Brown's photographs offer an unparalleled window into its short-lived grandeur. His lens captured the well-appointed gymnasium, the lavish first-class dining room, the refined reading and writing room, and even his own first-class stateroom. Among his most historically significant images was one of wireless operator Harold Bride in the Marconi room, one of the few photographs of the ship's vital communication hub. Father Brown's collection provides a rare and intimate glimpse into life aboard, from the luxurious first-class amenities to the simpler quarters of steerage passengers. During the voyage, a wealthy American couple offered him a ticket to continue to New York. But fate intervened. On April 11, following orders from his Jesuit superiors, he disembarked at Queenstown, Ireland, Titanic's last port of call before crossing the Atlantic. This directive not only saved his life but preserved his invaluable photographs, the only surviving visual record of life aboard the Titanic. Just 3 days after Father Brown left the ship, the Titanic struck an iceberg on April 14 and sank into the frigid waters of the North Atlantic, claiming over 1,500 lives. What began as simple travel memories became a priceless chronicle, preserving the ship's splendor and humanity for future generations. Days after Father Brown's final photograph, a teenage girl would capture the haunting aftermath of a dream that vanished beneath the waves. The Unseen Lens, Bernice Palmer's Titanic Chronicle. Aboard the Carpathia, a passenger steamship destined to make history, a 17-year-old girl named Bernice Palmer unknowingly became a witness to one of maritime history's greatest tragedies. Armed with her Kodak Brownie camera, a Christmas gift, this young Canadian would preserve haunting glimpses of the Titanic disaster. In April 1912, Bernice and her mother embarked on a serene Mediterranean cruise. But on April 14, at 12:20 a.m., their voyage took a dramatic turn. The Carpathia's wireless operator received Titanic's frantic distress call. The great ship had struck an iceberg and was sinking fast. Captain Arthur Rostron acted swiftly, navigating through icy waters at breakneck speed as the crew prepared for an unprecedented rescue. When dawn broke, the Carpathia approached an eerie scene. Massive icebergs loomed in the distance, their jagged peaks glistening in the first light, while lifeboats emerged from the mist, carrying survivors huddled together against the biting cold. With extraordinary composure, Bernice began documenting this historic moment. Her photographs captured raw, poignant scenes: Titanic survivors standing on the Carpathia's deck, draped in mismatched clothing after losing their elegant wardrobes to the Atlantic. One striking image featured honeymooners Mr. and Mrs. Georgia, Harder of Brooklyn, their faces etched with both relief and lingering horror. Nearby, Mrs. Charles M. Hayes stood unknowingly in Bernice's frame, her back turned. Though she and her daughters survived, her husband, the Grand Trunk Railway president, was lost to the sea. Through the lens of a teenager, moments of survival, loss, and resilience were preserved forever. In her final frames, Bernice unknowingly captured what many believed to be Titanic's executioner, the very iceberg that sealed its fate. Her photographs stand as a haunting testament to humanity's endurance and the fragile line between life and tragedy. The Fatal Ice, unraveling the mystery of Titanic's iceberg. The search for Titanic's iceberg has spanned over a century, with numerous photographs claiming to depict the fateful berg. Each image has fueled debate, intrigue, and a relentless pursuit of the truth behind history's most infamous collision. Among these, Bernice Palmer's haunting photographs from the deck of the Carpathia stand out. Captured at daybreak on April 15, 1912, her images reveal a massive iceberg with a chilling detail, a red streak along its surface, believed to be paint from Titanic's hull. Palmer sold these images to Underwood and Underwood, a New York photography agency, for just $10. The contract explicitly described them as showing the iceberg and ice field run into by the Titanic. But Palmer wasn't the only one to document potential evidence. Captain W.F. Wood of the Athenia photographed a towering iceberg 2 days before the tragedy, eerily near Titanic's doomed course. Similarly, the crew of the SS Burma and Captain D. Carter of the Minia produced images of bergs bearing suspicious red streaks. Most intriguingly, a steward aboard the Prince Adalbert captured a photograph of an iceberg on the morning of April 15, its surface marked by red paint. This image hung for decades in the offices of the law firm representing White Star Line, Titanic's owners, before selling at auction for a significant sum. Experts like ice researcher Steve Bruno note that an iceberg's surface, as hard as rock, can scrape paint from a ship during a collision. Such paint could remain visible for days in cold conditions, lending credence to these photographs. Yet, with over 400 icebergs recorded crossing the 48th parallel that April, identifying Titanic's iceberg remains an elusive goal. As lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee famously warned, iceberg, right ahead. The fragments of Titanic's past remain scattered. While the icebergs that haunted those 1912 waters have long since melted, 2.5 miles below the ocean's surface, tangible remnants of that night endure, preserving the memory of history's great maritime tragedy, Raising the Giant, the tale of Titanic's Big Piece. Amid the silent depths where Titanic rests, one artifact looms as a testament to its grandeur and tragedy, a colossal section of the ship's starboard hull, famously called the Big Piece, weighing an astonishing 15 tons and spanning multiple decks. This fragment became the largest part of Titanic ever brought to the surface, a feat of engineering and determination that defined modern maritime recovery. First discovered in 1994, the recovery team, led by George Tulloch and Paul-Henri Nargeolet, recognized its significance. For them, this was more than steel, it was a chance to connect future generations with a tangible piece of Titanic's legacy. Tulloch declared, "It is the largest piece of Titanic that will, in all likelihood, ever be recovered." Their first attempt in 1996 drew a captivated audience as cruise ships gathered to witness the raising. Using flotation bags to lift the massive hull, anticipation filled the air for 2 hours. But disaster struck. Unable to manage the weight, the recovery vessel struggled, and Hurricane Edward swept in, forcing the massive piece to slip back into the abyss. Undeterred, the team returned in 1998, more determined and better equipped. This time, the lift bags carried the now 20-ton hull section, encrusted with marine growth and water, to the surface. After 86 years in darkness, the Big Piece broke free from the ocean's grip, marking a historic triumph. The journey didn't end there. In Boston, conservators faced the monumental challenge of preserving the artifact. It was split into 2 sections to ensure safe transport and exhibition. The main piece underwent rigorous conservation, an 18-month desalination bath, sacrificial anodes to counteract corrosion, and precision cleaning with high-pressure water jets. Remarkably, traces of original paint and functional bronze fixtures remained, preserving a fragment of Titanic's story. Today, the Big Piece resides in Titanic, the artifact exhibition at Luxor, Las Vegas, captivating over 22 million visitors. Its smaller counterpart, known as the Little Piece, found a home in Orlando, Florida. Together, they bridge the gap between history and the present, offering a rare opportunity to stand before a piece of Titanic, a silent witness to the night the world changed. Modern technology resurrected the Big Piece, but it also serves as a somber reminder of the innovations that failed to save Titanic on that fateful night. Marconi's vision and the unsung saviors, the Titanic's wireless heroes. At the dawn of the 20th century, Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi revolutionized maritime communication with his groundbreaking wireless telegraphy system. By 1912, this technology was a necessity for passenger ships, and Titanic, the White Star Line's crown jewel, boasted the most advanced system of its time. Yet, the innovation was only as powerful as the men operating it, and aboard Titanic, those men would face an unimaginable test. In the heart of Titanic's wireless room stood Jack Phillips, the senior operator, and Harold Bride, his junior assistant. Both were employees of the Marconi Company, tasked with managing Titanic's cutting-edge 5-kilowatt transmitter, capable of sending messages over 1,000 miles, a feat remarkable for its era. Despite the advanced technology, disaster struck just 4 days into Titanic's maiden voyage. The wireless system failed. Strict protocols barred Phillips and Bride from attempting repairs themselves, but faced with a backlog of passenger messages and the looming threat of isolation, they defied regulations. Working tirelessly, they risked their jobs to restore the lifeline connecting Titanic to the outside world. Hours later, their determination paid off, and the wireless room buzzed with renewed activity, a decision that would later save hundreds of lives. On the night of April 14th, as Titanic traversed the icy North Atlantic, the wireless operators were inundated with passenger messages and struggled to keep up. Amid the chaos, they received a series of dire ice warnings from nearby ships. Overwhelmed, many warnings went unacknowledged, a tragic precursor to the disaster. At 11:40 p.m., Titanic struck an iceberg, and Phillips and Bride sprang into action. **** come at once. We have struck an iceberg, **** Phillips tapped out to nearby ships, initially using the older CQD distress call before transitioning to the newer SOS. As Titanic's fate became apparent, their messages grew more desperate. ***, we are putting passengers off in small boats. Women and children can't last much longer, ***. Their calls reached the RMS Carpathia, which raced to Titanic's location. For hours, Phillips and Bride manned their station, sending out pleas for help even as the wireless room lost power and water rose around them. Their heroic efforts coordinated the rescue of 706 survivors, ensuring Carpathia arrived in time to save those in lifeboats. Jack Phillips, steadfast in his duty, sent his final transmission as the ship sank beneath him. Tragically, he did not survive. Harold Bride narrowly escaped, clinging to an overturned lifeboat before being rescued. Their bravery exemplified the human spirit in the face of catastrophe. Without their dedication, Titanic's tragedy would have been far worse. These unsung heroes remind us that behind every innovation, like Marconi's wireless system, lies the courage and sacrifice of those who use it. Phillips and Bride's story began with a breakdown and ended with unyielding resolve, a legacy etched forever into the annals of maritime history. Missed warnings, the icebergs that were ignored. In the tense days leading to Titanic's fateful encounter with an iceberg, a series of urgent warnings from nearby ships painted a chilling picture of the peril ahead. Yet, these messages, potential lifelines, were overlooked, leading to one of history's deadliest maritime disasters. The first warning came on April 12, 2 days before the tragedy. The Coronia, a passenger liner navigating the same North Atlantic route, reported bergs, growlers, and field ice in latitude 42 degrees north to 49 degrees north, longitude 49 degrees west to 51 degrees west. This vital message identified the ice field directly in Titanic's path. Acknowledged by the crew, it sparked no action. In the following days, Titanic received a flurry of similar warnings from vessels such as the Baltic, the America, and the Californian. Each message detailed worsening ice conditions, yet none were escalated to urgent status. By April 14, the warnings reached a critical peak. At 7:30 p.m., the Mesaba, a steamship that had just navigated through a dense ice field, transmitted a dire alert. Latitude 42 degrees north to 41 degree 25 N, longitude 49 degrees west to 50 degree 30 W, saw much heavy pack ice and great number large icebergs, also field ice. This message, which described massive icebergs and dense ice fields precisely in Titanic's course, was never delivered to the bridge. It remained in the wireless room, unseen by the officers who could have acted on it. The reasons for these oversights were as layered as they were tragic. Titanic's wireless operators, Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, were inundated with passenger messages, prioritizing those over safety alerts. The lack of a standardized emergency protocol for critical messages compounded the issue, as did the ship's crew's overconfidence in Titanic's alleged unsinkable design. By the time lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spotted the looming iceberg at 11:40 p.m., it was far too late. Their warnings were delayed by another fateful misstep, the absence of binoculars. The ship's only pair was locked in a cabinet, the key left behind by an officer who disembarked before the voyage. Had the iceberg warnings been taken seriously or the lookouts equipped properly, the Titanic might have avoided disaster. Instead, the ignored messages and missing tools created a cascade of failures, culminating in a tragic collision. The lessons of that night remain stark reminders of the dangers of complacency and miscommunication. Titanic's missed warnings weren't just messages, they were opportunities to save lives, lost forever in the icy waters of the Atlantic. The missing binoculars and the ship that couldn't see. In the pitch-black waters of the Atlantic, Titanic's lookouts strained their bare eyes, searching desperately for threats ahead. On this moonless, eerily calm night, their task was almost impossible, a tragedy unfolding in the shadows, worsened by a missing key and a series of catastrophic missteps. The story begins with Second Officer David Blair, originally slated to serve aboard Titanic. A last-minute crew reshuffling saw Blair removed from the voyage, replaced by Henry Wilde as chief officer. In his haste to leave, Blair inadvertently took with him a small but critical item, the key to the crow's nest locker. Inside that locker were the binoculars meant for the ship's lookouts, tools essential for spotting hazards in the vast, dark ocean. Without binoculars, lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee were left to rely solely on their eyesight. Their task became a battle against the odds, as they faced an ice-filled sea armed with nothing more than human vision. Fleet's haunting testimony later confirmed the impact. Had they been equipped with binoculars, the iceberg might have been spotted earlier, perhaps in time to avoid collision. But fate wasn't done dealing blows. As Titanic steamed into danger, another ship, the SS Californian, found itself just a few miles away. Surrounded by the same icy waters, the Californian's wireless operator, Cyril Evans, sent Titanic a warning at 10:30 p.m. "Ice ahead, proceed with caution." Jack Phillips, Titanic's overwhelmed wireless operator, was busy transmitting passenger messages. His brusque response: "Shut up, shut up. I am busy." Shortly after, Evans powered down his wireless set for the night, unaware that Titanic's distress calls would soon follow. As Titanic collided with the iceberg at 11:40 p.m., distress rockets lit up the night sky, visible to the Californian. Second Officer Herbert Stone and others aboard the ship reported the white flares, maritime signals of grave emergency. Yet, Captain Stanley Lord, cautious of the ice field and dismissive of the flares, believed them to be celebratory signals or company communication. Despite 8 distress rockets and repeated reports from his officers, Lord chose inaction, ordering only a futile attempt at lamp signaling. As Titanic's cries for help echoed into silence, the Californian remained still, its wireless silent, its crew unaware of the disaster unfolding within sight. By dawn, the Californian's crew reactivated their wireless, receiving the chilling news: Titanic, just a few miles away, had sunk hours earlier, taking over 1,500 souls with her. The missing binoculars, a key locked away, and a ship's inaction in the face of distress signals turned what might have been a near miss into an enduring tragedy. Together, these oversights stand as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of complacency and misjudgment at sea. Old camera found in deep ocean reveals eerie Titanic photos. During a daring deep-sea dive into the wreck of the Titanic, explorers reportedly uncovered an extraordinary find: an old camera sealed within a watertight box. Even more astonishing, the camera's film, though submerged for over a century, was said to have remained intact. When the negatives were developed, they allegedly unveiled a chilling image: a woman appearing to drown, her face etched with terror. The haunting photograph has sparked a wave of intrigue and debate. Skeptics are quick to dismiss the claim, pointing out the near impossibility of a camera and film surviving the extreme pressure and corrosive conditions 12,000 feet beneath the surface for so long. Others, however, are captivated by the possibility, wondering if this relic could shed new light on the human stories behind Titanic's tragic sinking. Is this mysterious find a groundbreaking artifact of history or simply an elaborate hoax? The debate rages on. Share your thoughts in the comments. What's your verdict? Titanic's lost treasures, artifacts that echo through time. Deep beneath the waves, 12,500 feet below the North Atlantic's surface, lies a silent witness to history, a treasure trove of artifacts that continue to speak of Titanic's grandeur and tragedy. These items, ranging from the personal belongings of passengers to the ship's ornate fittings, serve as haunting reminders of that ill-fated voyage. Since the Titanic's wreck was discovered in 1985, countless expeditions have employed advanced technologies, including remotely operated vehicles and submersibles, to uncover these relics. Among the finds are deeply personal artifacts, jewelry, clothing, and even a small leather-bound Bible. The Bible, remarkably preserved, belonged to Reverend Robert Bateman, a second-class passenger who perished that night. Its intact pages whisper stories of faith and courage in the face of unimaginable loss. The ship's china and silverware, etched with the iconic White Star Line emblem, evoke the luxury of the Gilded Age. Each plate and utensil speaks of grand dining rooms and privileged lives now forever suspended in time. These fragments of opulence contrast starkly with the tales of heroism and heartbreak tied to their owners. In 2010, high-resolution 3D imaging revealed previously unseen treasures: a leather suitcase, a marble sink from a first-class suite, and an ornate silver serving tray. These discoveries offer fresh insights into life aboard the Titanic, painting vivid pictures of both its grandeur and the human stories intertwined with its legacy. As new technologies unlock more secrets, these artifacts piece together a fuller, more nuanced narrative of the Titanic. They preserve not just the ship's tragic end, but the hopes, dreams, and lives of those who embarked on its maiden voyage. Each relic reminds us of humanity's vulnerability in the face of nature's overwhelming force, ensuring that the Titanic's story, and those it carried, endure for generations to come. Mapping the tragedy, new technologies uncover Titanic's secrets. In the cold, dark depths of the North Atlantic, 370 miles off the coast of Newfoundland, the RMS Titanic lies in a silent, watery grave. Her once glorious decks now form an underwater museum, shrouded in mystery for over a century. For decades, the full scope of her demise remained hidden beneath layers of silt and debris. But thanks to groundbreaking advancements in deep-sea exploration and mapping technology, Titanic's story is being rewritten with unparalleled clarity. Using cutting-edge tools like high-resolution sonar imaging and underwater laser scanning, researchers have created breathtaking 3D reconstructions of the wreck. These technologies, deployed by remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and manned submersibles, provide an unprecedented look at the Titanic's remains. In 2010, a team from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution and RMS Titanic Incorporated conducted a landmark survey of the wreck, capturing over 130,000 high-resolution images and sonar scans. These scans reveal every detail, from the iconic bow to the mangled stern, spread across a 15-square-mile debris field. The imagery uncovers the massive damage inflicted during the iceberg collision and subsequent sinking, twisted metal, torn hull sections, and a seabed littered with artifacts and personal belongings, each a silent witness to the tragedy. But the technological marvel doesn't stop there. Researchers have harnessed this data to create virtual flithroughs of Titanic's interior, resurrecting her grand staterooms, lounges, and corridors in haunting detail. These immersive experiences transport viewers into the ship's skeletal remains, where each corroded hallway and ruined chamber whispers untold stories of the lives and dreams lost that fateful night. Eyewitness accounts of Titanic's sinking once offered conflicting perspectives. Now, this cutting-edge technology bridges the gap, providing visual evidence that reshapes our understanding of the disaster. Through these advancements, we no longer merely observe history, we experience it. As technology continues to illuminate the shadows of Titanic's past, it deepens our connection to one of maritime history's most enduring tragedies, ensuring her story continues to resonate across generations.